welcome back to the Mortal Realms Premium Kit Part 2. So I've been looking forward to this. Premium Kit 1, which was the Flesh Eater Quartz, was very, very good addition to what I've already got. But this Part 2, I have been looking forward to greatly. So what have we got in here? We've got the magazine. We've got 4 paints. What have we got? Lauren Forest, which is very cool. I actually used a lot of this to create a wash not long ago, so I'm glad I've got more of that. We have got Nurgling Green layer paint. We have got Tau Light Ochre, which is cool. Ochre or ochre, I'm not sure. And we've got XV88. So that is a base, and the rest are layer paints. So that's cool. And then we've got sprues. Got a big sprue. We've got a little sprue. Got a medium-sized sprue. So that's good. And we've also got a large base and 6 what appears to be 32mm base. So yeah, looking good. So let's start with the magazine. Let's see what we've got. So it's quite a big one. Lots of information in here. Sylvaneth. Each premium issue of Mortal Realms is a faction. Each premium issue of Mortal Realms features a faction from one of the Grand Alliances. This issue focuses on the Sylvaneth, armies of forest spirits led by the goddess of life, Alariel the Everqueen. After your new army is built and painted, you'll use your Sylvaneth in an exciting battle plan that sees them defend a Soul Pod Grove, a place where new Sylvaneth are grown against the Night Haunts. You'll need the full rules of Warhammer Age of Sigmar to play, which will come in future issues of Mortal Realms. Happy hobbying. Very cool. So we've got Sylvaneth Part 2. Learn about the Branch Witches, which we get in this box. We've got Drycha Hamadreth. Read the history of Drycha Hamadreth, a furious and vengeful spirit that was made outcast by her own goddess. Then we've got Spite Revenants. We also get those. Building guide, painting guide, war scrolls, and a battle plan. The Haunting of Whisperwood Glade. In this exciting new battle plan, the Sylvaneth must defend their Soul Pod Grove from the attacking Night Haunts. Okay, so the Sylvaneth Part 2. Sylvaneth are the Watchers in the Wood, the glade that howls through the canopy of every forest. They are the raw fury of the wild places, as changeable as the weather and as merciless as nature itself. These are the vengeful forest spirits of great power. To any who enter their lands uninvited, they are death. So, here are the different war groves. Winterleaf, Gnarlroot, Forest Boon, and Ironbark. Sylvaneth war groves are powerful gatherings of Sylvaneth. From all levels of Sylvaneth society, they gather together to fight for Alariel across the Mortal Realms. The warriors who make up each war grove may come from one or more clans. Each clan in turn belongs to one of the great glades. So those are the 4 clans. Okay. So the Branch Witches, which is this sprue here. Druidic wielders of life magic, Branch Witches are respected by their fellow Sylvaneth for their abilities as spellcasters, warriors and commanders. They have quick tempers and tend to act on impulse, lashing out at any who step foot within their sacred groves. They're really nice models, actually. Okay, then we've got Drycha Hamadreth, who's this big mama there. Drycha Hamadreth is a self-professed regent of the outcasts. She is a truly ancient spirit who fought in the final wars of the world that was. It was not until the darkest days of the Age of Chaos that the Everqueen planted Drycha's soul seed and unleashed the Branchwraith Branchwraith upon her enemies. And this is a pucker model. Awesome, really cool. Very cool. Then we've got the Spite Revenants. Hissing and shrieking, the mysterious outcasts emerge from the shadows to fall upon their victims with cruel savagery. Darkness follows these terrible creatures, and they are feared not only by outsiders who lay eyes upon them, but also by their fellow Sylvaneth. Okay, so we get 5 of these. So we can do them in different ways. We've got the Harvest Boon, the Oaken Brow, the Gnarl Root, Dreadwood, and Iron Bark. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to build these now. But if you do want a build guide, or you want to see me building these, they look a little bit fiddly, but not too bad. But if you want to see that, let me know in the comments, and I will do it. So this is Drycha Hamadreth, and she has 43 parts on this sprue to build. Obviously some of them are optional and that kind of thing, but yeah, there's quite a lot there. So yeah, all this looks cool. Now, obviously the paint guide includes what we've collected so far with Mortal Realms and what we've got in the box today, which is fantastic. And it is a large paint guide as well, quite in depth. Okay, let's have a look when we're done. Awesome, very cool. Okay, so then we've got the War Scrolls. So we'll start with Drakkar, the big one. So what have we got? So she's got a missile weapon, which is Colony of Flutter Furies. Now the range is different depending on how many wounds she's taken. So with no wounds taken, she's got an 18-inch range, which goes right down to 6. If she's got 9 up, she's got 10 wounds in total. And that does 10 attacks. They 4 up to hit and a 3 up to wound. Rend -1 and 1 damage, which isn't, it's quite a decent weapon. She's got Slashing Talons, which has got, again, the number of attacks changes, depends on how many wounds she's taken. So on no wounds, she has 6 attacks, going right down to 2 on 9+, with different in between. 4 up to hit, 3 up to wound, rend -2 and 2 damage, so that's good. And then Swarm of Squirmlings, 10 attacks to hit. Starts on 3 up, but then decreases as she takes wounds, going down to a 5 up. And a 4 up to wound with no rend, doing 1 damage. That's good. So she's a real powerhouse. That's cool. She's a wizard. She has Primal Terror. Throwing back her head, Drakkar gives voice to a soul-rending scream of anguish and pain. The Primal Terror has a casting value of 6. Successfully cast, roll 2d6, blah, 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 blah. Each enemy unit within 10 inches of the caster with a bravery characteristic lower than this roll suffers d3 mortal wounds. That is a lot, however, that is a lot actually, yeah. If you get a double 6 on that, you affect most of the models. Okay, what else has she got? Song of Spite. You can re-roll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly Spite Revenants while they are wholly within 16 inches of this model. And Mercurial Aspect. At the start of the battle round, declare whether this model is enraged or embittered. If she's enraged while the model is enraged, its colony of flutterflies has an attack characteristic of 20 instead of 10. Wow, that's impressive. If she's embittered, while this model is embittered, its Swarm of Squirmlings has an attack characteristics of 20 instead of 10. Wow. So that's pretty special. She's got Deadly Infestation as well. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by a colony of flutterflies or a swarm of squirmlings is 6, That attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll. Okay, moving on to the Branchwraith. Oh, sorry, just go back. So she's got 10 wounds, moves 9 inches, saves on a 3 up and has a bravery of 8. Okay, Branchwraith, who moves 7, saves on a 5 up, which ain't that good. Bravery of 7, 5 wounds. So she's got a Greenwood Scythe, 2-inch range, 2 attacks, 4 up to hit and 3 to wound, but 2 damage. And she's got Snapping Mandibles, which is on this sort of big weird centipede thing she's got on there. 1-inch range, 1 attack on a 4 up to hit and wound with the Ren -1 and 1 damage. However, so that isn't very awesome at all. But let's have a look at the abilities. Fiercely protective. All right, Fury of the Forest. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this model while it's wholly within 6 inches of any friendly awakened wildwoods. Quick Tempered. Add 2 to the attacks characteristic of this model's Greenwood Scythe whilst any wounds are allocated to this model. Okay, so that makes it better. So she's a wizard and she's got Unleash Spites. Unleash Spites has a casting value of 5. If successfully cast, roll a number of dice equal to the casting roll for each enemy unit within 9 inches of the caster. For each 6, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Okay, and then we've got our Spite Revenants. Only 1 wound. Movement of 5, saves on a 5 up and a bravery of 6. Cruel Talons and Fangs, so that's 1-inch range, 3 attacks, hits and wounds on a 3 with a damage of 1. So they've got Shade Stalker. 1 model in this unit can be a Shade Stalker. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of that model's Cruel Talons and Fangs. And then they've got an ability called Unbridled Malice. Subtract 1 from the bravery characteristics of enemy units while they are within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability. In addition, reroll successful battle shock tests for enemy units while they are within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability. So that is a cool ability, but they ain't going to last long with 1 wound each. Okay, so the battle plan: the Haunting of Whisperwood Glade. The Sylvaneth of Whisperwood Glade are under siege by the Nighthaunts. Heeding the song of war, Drycha Hamadreth has roused her outcast followers and leads them to confront the spectral intruders. Okay, so the battle plan is... Now this is actually pretty cool. So anyone who has picked up the Soul Drain Forest Warcry pack will have this terrain already. So it's just that, well, they might not have this exactly, but they'll be able to make it out of 3 trees because all 3 trees have these sort of extending bits on here. Anyway, so the armies are: Nighthaunt has the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, 1 Dreadblade Harrow, a Spirit Torment and 10 Chain Rust up against everything that we received in this box. So the Soul Pod Grove goes on there. So it says place that and then set up all terrain. The terrain pieces must be at least 4 inches from the Soul Pod Grove. So I think that just allows us to put any terrain that we collect onto this map as we get more content from Mortal Realms. So Soul Pod Grove goes on there. 1 player commands the Nighthaunts and the other commands the Sylvaneth army. The players alternate setting up units 1 at a time, as usual. Blah, 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 blah. Sylvaneth player has the first turn. The entangling magical vines that crisscross the Soul Pod Grove reach out to grasp trespassers and outcasts. When running, units must roll 2 dice and keep the lowest result. Models with the Noble Spirits keyword are not affected. The game ends at the end of the 5th battle round. The player who has the most victory points is the winner. If both players have the same number of victory points, the game is tied. And on victory points, both players gain 1 victory point for each model that ends the game in the Soul Pod Grove. Models in the Soul Pod Grove models are in the Soulpod Grove if their base is wholly within the sheet of printed terrain. All right, so wholly within the entire sheet gets them in there. So that's good. So I think if you wanted to go with the actual terrain, the actual tree terrain, I think you could just say anything within 2 inches maybe of the actual terrain piece. But that is cool. So what have we got next? Orruk Warclans, Premium Issue 3. So I haven't got any Orruk Warclans, so I'm very much looking forward to those. So what do I think overall of this? So if we look at the value-wise, all of this stuff is going to set you back at just shy of 90 quid. So if you think about, 40 quid for the premium content, you are saving half your money on this, which is very good. Now, I have seen that people have been selling these on eBay. For me, I'm very, very happy with this. I like the content in here, and I do look forward to going through it again. Paint guide is good. We've got enough information on our 3 different types of unit on here as well, and a little bit more about the Sylvaneth. So yeah, I'm very happy. It's good. 2 thumbs up from me. Like I say, if you want to see these built, do let me know in the comments and I will do it. If you want to buy any of this stuff individually, there's links in the description for Element Games. If you do use that link, it helps me out. I get a tiny kickback, but no pressure. But anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. Much appreciated, and I'll see you later.